Welcome back to another edition of the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid. Cannabis firms are on the hunt with mergers and acquisitions beyond Canada, looking for international growth as markets begin to grow and opportunities begin to emerge. Obviously, coming back into the United States that has some of the strongest GDP, with states that exceed other countries' GDP, has huge opportunities. And so there's global cannabis industry M&As taking place with less frequent deals, but larger amounts of money involved. Canadian medical cannabis companies are increasingly looking at internationally for acquisitions to tap growth, while consolidation in the country's marijuana sector continues to steam ahead. Last year, there was 140 U.S. companies that were targets of mergers and acquisitions, which is a substantial increase over 2017's 86. We've seen an increase in M&A activity of Canadian companies. Cannabis firms in Canada raised a record 12 billion Canadian dollars in 2018, helping to fuel the recent acquisition binge. Beacon Securities analyst Russell Stanley expects more survival-type M&As rather than growth-related mergers and acquisitions in Canada. He said that the bigger players in Canada have what they want, what they need, and that the consolidation that they're going to see in Canada is among the smaller players who realize that they need additional scale in order to compete. In 2018, there were more deals involving cannabis companies outside Canada than within the country. A number of Canadian LPs have been working to establish beachheads in Germany, partly as a means of reaching the rest of Europe. Southeast Asia, with a number of markets that are taking a turn towards legalization. Colombian company Clever Leaves plans to export cannabis to Canada. A vertically integrated Colombian licensed producer of pharmaceutical-grade medical marijuana announced later today that it will become the first Colombian company authorized to export cannabis into Canada. This unprecedented move by Health Canada designates the first time a Colombian company is exporting native-grown cannabis legally into another country. According to the press release, Clever Leaves met all the requirements of Health Canada to obtain the imported permit. On January 29th, the Colombian National Narcotics Fund granted the approval necessary to export the cannabis from Colombia. Clever Leaves expects to begin exportation by mid-February. The initial shipment of Colombian cannabis is just for dried flower and is earmarked for testing purposes and will be transported directly to a Canadian lab. The ultimate end market is a medical market, which is required by Colombian regulations. The global elitists have made their mark. Davos says that Europe could be the world's largest medical marijuana market in 5 years. So Europe's largest 3 medical cannabis markets could double in size in 2019, making this a transformative year by the European market, according to a new report by United Kingdom-based analytics firm Prohibition Partners. European cannabis market's value skyrocketed last year with 500 million euros already invested in the market, which is mostly funneled into distribution and cultivation licenses. That could be just the tip of the iceberg, according to the report, as European countries combine to become the world's largest federally regulated medical market over the next 5 years. In the near term, Europe's 3 largest medical cannabis markets, Italy, Netherlands, and Germany, will see patient counts more than double to a combined 225,000 this year. Over the next decade, the European Cannabis Report predicts the total market for cannabis could surpass 58 billion euros. Europe is seeing a fast-paced wave of regulation and legislative change. Throughout 2018, a swath of European countries introduced, reviewed, or announced future legislation to advance the legal cannabis agenda. The UK, Portugal, and Malta have all legalized medical cannabis products. The report breaks down commercial opportunities in production, processing, distribution, and retail. Other takeaways from the report include a serious access restriction that exists in the United Kingdom despite doctors legally being able to prescribe medical cannabis since November 1st of 2018. 2019 could be a big year following the World Health Organization as it releases its position on medical cannabis. MMJ is legal in 14 countries in Europe. Regulations are expected to evolve and improve patient access and allow business opportunities. Germany, Italy, and the Netherlands could see a medical cannabis market grow to 18 billion euros in the next decade. The Chinese want some cannabis. They have delegations that are visiting Israel to explore medical cannabis opportunities. A Chinese delegation from business and research circles is planning to visit Israel in the coming days to explore opportunities in the medical cannabis sector. Cannabis for medical use remains illegal in China, but if the country's positions change, even just on CBD, it could open up significant business opportunities in the world's most populated country. The Chinese delegation will meet with representatives of pharmaceutical companies and technological innovators, according to an Israeli Business Daily newspaper. Global Standards Group adds 2 new categories for cannabis. An international standards organization has added 2 new specifications to assist in the processing and handling of marijuana. Because the industry is in its early stages, it lacks many established, commonly accepted standards, leaving businesses without clear guidelines and ground rules found in other industries. According to a news release, international standards have developed and soon to be published guidelines for cannabis packaging and labeling, covering products from sales to adult consumers, registered medical marijuana patients, and others, as well as disposing of raw material and product containing resin. Both standards were developed by the organization Cannabis Committee, formed in 2017. The standard creates a clear distinction between those parts of the cannabis plant that are controlled and those that are not provided under guidelines on how to dispose of the controlled parts of the plant in order to be compliant with international law. Molson Coors CBD beverage partner Hexo closes a Canadian $57 million share offering. So Hexo Corp, a licensed producer of cannabis based in Quebec, raised 57 million Canadian dollars on Wednesday when it closed its offering of common shares. Last August, Hexco entered a joint venture with Molson Coors Canada to produce CBD-infused beverages, in which the brewing giant took a 57% stake. Molson Coors said at the time it would have the option of buying 5% stake in Hexco if the company's stock hit $6 a share. Hexco stock was trading at $6.98 a share at midday Wednesday. U.S. cannabis spending is set to surge, with legal spending expected to hit $22 billion in 2022. After the descheduling of hemp in the U.S. with the Farm Bill, Cannabis Growth said it'll spend $150 million to build its first production facility in the U.S., kicking off what is certain to be a wave of Canadian producers moving into the American hemp market. The real opportunity here is not hemp, but it's extract cannabidiol, better known as CBD. And even beyond that, it's really just a shoe-in in order to establish all of the resources you need in order to convert from CBD to THC in the eventuality that it becomes legal in the U.S. So it's obvious that the companies going to Canada to gain access to the marketplace, get the capital they need, establish brands, and then come back to the U.S. in the legal form of hemp until it becomes legal, they're just going to dominate. All these companies are just going to be able to continue with their brand and their sales and then gobble up anybody else who has a unique niche product. But really, it's the beginning of the end for mom and pops unless they can diversify or differentiate or provide a unique experience, which is going to be bigger than anything else. Investors rarely get to witness the birth of an industry, said analyst John Zamparo. Such historic events include the gold rush, inventions of the automobile and aircraft, and the internet. Few companies live up to their lofty expectations. Only a handful of firms will come to dominate the global market. But Canopy and Kronos could be 2 of those top winners, largely because of the investment they've received from outside industries and shareholders. And with that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is the Talking Hedge, and I'm out.